When Sweet Tarts dared to combine sweet and tart, they thought, why stop there? Why not create other exciting and unexpected combinations, like rainbows and ropes, or fruity and gummy, or chewy and more chewy? That's why they created fun treats like Sweet Tarts Twisted Rainbow Ropes, Gummies Fruity Splits, and Chewy Fusions. When you dare to combine, it's sure to blow your mind. Sweet Tarts, dare to combine. Visit sweettartscandy.com to shop now.
This podcast is made possible through donations from listeners like you and our partners at Tallman Equipment. Tallman prides itself in having more lineman tools in stock than anyone else. And now, when you're shopping online at tallmanequipment.com, look for the truck logo that says in stock and ready for shipping on hundreds of items on our website. That logo means that item is in stock and ready to ship the same day in most cases. When it comes to getting the tools and equipment linemen need, you gotta trust Tallman. Goalie Astro Gummies. You can find them at goalie.com. These gummies are a holistic, non-habit forming approach to help you relax, restore, and unwind. Ashwagandha is classified as an adaptogen. Adaptogens are a select group of plants that help your body cope with stress. Studies have shown that KSM-66 ashwagandha reduces levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. Use our promo code, the Show Up Dad Foundation, and get 10% off your order. And last but not least, Zenderance. These products are products that the Show Up Dad stands behind. They help to maximize your health. They strive to support and have a positive impact on the wellness of every hardworking dad out there. They use proven, clean, and accessible products to make an impact on your health and performance. Use my code, the Show Up Dad, and get 10% off your next purchase. For more info, go to www.zenderance.com. That is spelled XENDURANCE.com. Thank you. Welcome to the Show Up Dad podcast, where our mission is to improve the well-being of children by increasing the proportion of children growing up with an involved, responsible, and committed father. The Show Up Dad Foundation is a 501(c) organization that encourages dads to become more than just a paycheck. Today's guest is Alfredo Nieto. He is a single dad to 4 beautiful children, 2 boys and 2 girls. He is working full-time in the busy, bustling Southern California as a journeyman lineman. He has spent 23 years in the trade and has overcome various obstacles to become the father he is today. Welcome to our show, brother.
How you doing, man? Thank you. I appreciate you getting me on the broadcast on the Show Up Dad. This is Alfie Nieto, and I'm very thankful to be on the show.
Absolutely, brother. Well, Alfie, the reason why I reached out to you, like I told you before, is, man, I see all the stuff you're doing with your children. I see all the hard work you're putting in, just being present and in that moment. I understand how you guys work out there in the field, all the hours and stuff, and it's pretty awesome to see that you're taking that time to be present in their lives, you know, and that's a big thing, I think. So thank you again for coming on, brother.
Oh no, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I mean it's been hard, and and it's I'm very thankful for the trade and for my kids, So I love the opportunity to speak about it.
Absolutely, brother. Well, let's get right in this, bro. I want to ask you, like I ask all our guests, how was your relationship with your father like growing up, man? What was he like?
You know what? My dad came. He was an old school Mexican hardcore man. He came from Mexico. He back in the day when he was young, obviously he didn't have a citizenship, and he got an opportunity where back in the day I think they had like a permit to where they picked certain people to come to the United States to come to work. So he came.
Mm-hmm.
Then he became a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And then he brought my mom over and stuff like that. So I was born here. And then, obviously after I was born here, my mom wanted to go back home. So she moved us back to Mexico again. So I lived in Mexico for like 5 years, and I came back. And you know what? My dad was hardcore, hard, cold, old school Mexican, fucking hard worker. worked every day. Even on his days off, he was always working at home and stuff, doing stuff at the house. He was just hard.
Mm-hmm.
And he had me working with him because he owns his own landscaping business.
Mm-hmm.
So like all my summers when I was out of school, I had to go work with him. He took me to
Mm-hmm.
work. And that's how he brought us up like that. He brought me up like, you're a worker, you're gonna work. So that's
Yeah.
why I like to work. So I like to work so much is because he implanted that in my head, like you're gonna work all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
but he was always hardcore. Never showed me no affection or love and stuff like that. It was just but I knew he loved me, but he just was one of those hard guys, one of the guys that just didn't know how to show love.
Mm-hmm.
So he also was his dad was a single dad because his mom passed away when they were born because he was a twin,
Mm-hmm.
and his mom passed away while she was giving birth to them. So his dad brought him up by himself too, and my grandpa was a hardcore guy too. Old Mexican. This is old Mexican. Excuse my language. I'm sorry, but he's
Mm-hmm.
old school Mexican, and my dad was just brought up hardcore. And I think
Yeah.
that was just implanted in his head to do that same thing to his boys. And
Mm-hmm.
to the boys he was like that, but like my sister, he was completely different. Like he showed her completely different love that we wanted, but he just didn't show the boys that. Which I get it now. I understand why, but
Mm-hmm.
that's how I was brought up.
Now, Alfred, I wanted to ask you, brother, and I think this is very important. I know because, like, I've talked to other guests and stuff like that, even for myself. Now, you said how the girls were treated different, right?
Hmm.
Now, was there ever a time that you saw that the girls were treated like less than? And the reason why I'm asking that is because in my home and other people I've talked to, because we're about the same age, boys were looked at as the ones who are gonna carry on the family name. They were looked on
Yes.
as you're getting this, you're going to inherit all this stuff. And the girls, guess what? You know, marry a good guy, right?
Yeah.
That's the way it was kind of looked at. I know for my family. Did you ever see that in your family as well, where the girls are almost looked at like not equal or like kind of second in a way?
You know what? Not necessarily. Like
Okay.
my sister was like he treated her like he was very sweet and honest with her, and like I mean he was different with her because she was a girl.
Yeah.
That was his, and not only that, but that was his newborn.
Oh, okay.
That's so I'm the same way with my oldest daughter. Like I kind of treat her a little bit different than I do the rest of my kids. But I mean, I still love all my kids the same way. But I
Hmm.
have a little bit more because she's your firstborn. That's your firstborn daughter. But
Hmm.
yeah, he definitely was different with the boys. He was very hard on the boys. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
you guys are. He was trying to make us men. Is what he was doing, making us men.
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
that's how it was.
Yeah, no, and I could definitely see that. I mean, especially coming from Mexico to the United States, I can't even imagine. New world, new country, you're looked at differently because you're not an American and you have to be tough. Those are times where you had to be tough. And he tried to raise you guys the best way he could possibly do it by not showing you that compassion and love. And you know what I mean? But I mean, I'm sure he still showed you love in the sense that he put a roof over your head, right?
Oh
You were
no, yeah,
clothed, you had food and stuff like that. So, and it's not taking away that he didn't show you love. He showed you love the way he knew how, if that
no,
makes
yeah.
sense.
I mean, you know what? Yeah, exactly. You know what?
Hmm.
He gave me everything that I wanted. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, when I was in school, I had the clothes, the best shoes. Like,
Hmm.
I had everything that I wanted. That he did give me. He did not have a problem giving me whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And when I was in school, a lot of my friends, were jealous. Or like, why do you have all the nicer stuff? Because
Hmm.
my dad didn't care. My dad, I think that's how he showed me his love was like
Mm.
by buying me stuff. he didn't show it physically. Like, I mean, I would go play sports and you know, play. I was in little league and stuff. I never had my parents there to support me when I was playing sports. I had one
Hmm.
of my best friends' parents there all the time supporting me because you know, we were so close that we would always be on the same team. So they were supporting. They would take me to practices because my dad was always working, and my
Hmm.
mom was a Mexican woman that stayed at home and she didn't drive.
Yeah.
So she couldn't go. So nobody else would go to my games. It was just my friends. So I never had that
Type of
support
support,
like
right?
from my dad, but from my parents being at like my games and stuff. Like I played football in high school. Same
Hmm.
thing. They never showed up to any of my games. So but you know, I get it now. Now that I'm grown, I
Hmm.
understand what he did and made me the person that I am now.
Yeah. Hey, Alfred, I wanted to ask you on that point. Do you think it would have made a difference just to see your dad in the stage or in the stands or cheering you on? Do you think that would have, really changed your
Oh,
perspective or
oh,
anything like that?
oh, of course. Yes,
Hmm.
of course. I did. Like, you know, that would have,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that would have made it like, it would have, for myself, it would have done a lot for me. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like emotionally and like, yeah, it would have done a lot for me. But
Hmm.
I got it. You know, you know, I knew what kind of a man he was and he was always busy, you know, and he's taking care of the business and taking care of the house with everybody. So I get it. I got it.
Hmm.
And but you know, I grew up like that, so I didn't know any
Yeah.
different. But I did see that the screwed up stuff was I would see my friends and their
Hmm.
parents were there, and my parents were never there. So it was like,
Yeah.
you know, why can't my parents be here?
Yeah.
But I got it. You know, I got it. My dad had a mind his mindset to do what he was gonna do, and
Hmm.
he became pretty much a good successful man and got a lot of stuff for his family. And I get
Hmm.
it now. I get it. It's like, yeah, I understand. It was you didn't have the time for it, but I
Yeah.
when I became a father, I made sure that I changed that
Yes.
for my kids.
Absolutely,
You
brother.
know,
No, I agree with you 100%. And the reason why I ask these questions, Alfred, is because I remember the same thing. I remember my father not being there because he was working too, right? And my mom,
yeah,
I mean, she was the only woman in the stands with all the men. And this is from
yeah,
football to wrestling, everything. And my dad supported everything. I mean, when it came down to wrestling, I went to every single wrestling camp. I went to California, went to Oklahoma, went to Canada, all these different camps. He had the money for that because he was working in order for me to do that. But I wanted him in the stands, you know
yeah,
what I mean? And
exactly.
so I can see that and empathize with you there. I think it would have helped me reach a different level, I believe, than where I was at, if that makes sense, as
No,
far
yeah,
as
completely.
mhm,
Because yeah, definitely. Like I was out playing before, and I would look at the stands and be like, maybe
mhm,
they showed up. And I'm just looking, nah, they didn't show up. You know, I don't know if I mean it might have made a big difference. I mean, obviously, yeah, it could, you know, it's
mhm,
but I got it. I understood. Like, you know, my mother took care of the house. My dad
mhm,
had to work, and you know, like my dad didn't see it that way. Like, obviously, because he grew up by himself, pretty much. Pretty much, his dad was a single father as well.
mhm,
So he was brought up hardcore because my grandpa was hard, like bad. Like he didn't show no emotion. So that's how my dad grew up. And
mhm.
you know how it goes. It just goes if
Yep,
that's how he sees that he was brought up, he's gonna do the same thing with his boys.
absolutely. What walks in
So
fathers
yeah,
runs in sons. You know? Um,
exactly. Exactly.
but now seeing that, and like you, I made the decision to start being more present as well and see how important that is. Um, I get it. And I could actually see how kids can actually look at why their parents aren't there and be like, okay, well then the job is more important than me. They have a tendency as children to think that it's them, that I'm the
Yeah.
problem. I'm not as important as that work. I'm not as important as that job. You know what I mean? And that's kind of our mission here with this foundation and stuff like that is just bringing that awareness to be like, hey man, this is sometimes how your kids, not all kids, but majority of kids tend to look at things when you start putting other things in priority over them, you know,
Yeah.
and start making decisions more, I guess, that are more for the
Yeah.
family. But how is your relationship now with him, Alfredo?
My actually he passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
It's been 3 years since he passed away. He passed away from brain cancer.
Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that, brother.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
yeah, so he's gone.
Yeah.
So
Do you feel that you told him everything you needed to tell him? Like, do you feel that you guys he left on good terms and stuff like that and with you?
well, right before we found out he had brain cancer, I told him I wanted to take them back to Mexico because he was gonna turn 80. So I said, let's go for your birthday. I said, I'll pay for the trip. I said, I want all of us to go. And my
Hmm.
dad was all excited. He was like, yeah. He goes, he started saying what he wanted to do. So then he, so let me back up a little bit. So
Hmm.
the man that he became, he's a great grandfather to my kids. Like he showed my kids the most love, amazing, amazing love to all my kids, like
Yeah.
my babies, my boys, everybody. And I think he did it because he knew that he messed up,
Yeah.
not doing it to us when we were young. Like he loved my kids. He would do anything for my kids. He always says to call them, "Those are my babies. Those are my babies."
Hmm.
And my kids were always excited. Like I used to be so excited to I would sit by the window and wait till he got home just to go see him.
Yeah.
And then he didn't give me no love and stuff. When I would run to him and stuff, he would just like, you're a boy, and And I remember one time because he used to always take us to the swamp meet on Sundays,
Yeah.
and I would always grab his hand, you know. And I remember one time I reached out to grab his hand, brushed my hand away, and I kind of like was like, what's up with that? And he's like, you're old and you're not old. You're old enough not to get your hand pulled. And I'm like, okay. But with my kids, he completely changed.
Yeah.
And then, he changed and he was a great, great grandfather to my kids. He adored my kids. He did anything for my kids. He loved my kids. And I kind of felt that like a relief for me.
Hmm.
And I respected him a lot more because he was doing that stuff because I think he regretted. He didn't want to tell me that he screwed up as a kid, as a younger when we were young, and
Yeah.
he's doing it for my kids. So, and he was showing my kids the love that I wanted all the time. He was
Yeah.
there for my kids for anything. My kids asked to be there, he would be there. Their grandpa, can you do this? He would do it. And there was stuff like that that I used to ask for him to do, and he wouldn't do it. So I think he realizes it when he got older. But yeah, he ended up right before we booked the flights to go to Mexico. He had a doctor's appointment, and he went to go get a CAT scan, and they said you're gonna take him to the emergency. And we found something in his brain that doesn't look right, and sure enough, when we went to the emergency room, they did an emergency surgery to check what was going on, and that was it. Like he had stage 4 cancer in his brain, and
Hmm.
shortly after that, it was pretty much over.
It's good to see how he recognized where his shortcomings were as a father to you guys, and he chose to change that with your kids. I mean, I see that even with my father. Like, we grew up the same way. Father was a hardcore dude. Never drank, but my God, he was. The running joke in our house, Alfredo, was your dad should drink. You know what I mean? Because he turns
Right?
nice. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
same way, his dad was very, very rough with him as well, abusive, tough, to the point where his dad, just because my father didn't have blue eyes,
Yeah.
So he had green eyes, and he would tell him, "You're not my kid," even though he looked exactly like my grandpa.
Yeah.
So that's the type of home he grew up with. Very old school cowboy, uh, Spanish family.
Uh,
My grandfather on my dad's side, his dad was a immigrant from Portugal.
yeah.
He came to America when he was 14 years old as a whaler,
Yeah.
and they settled down with their brothers, and they got into the cattle business, and they were cowboys, you know what I mean? And so they grew up really rough and everything. And needless to say, he showed that to my father, and my father did the same thing to us. And now I have those father wounds where I want to change for my kids because I was doing the same thing,
Yeah.
and I don't want that for my children. I want it to stop with me. I don't want it to continue down that lineage. It's got to stop, and it takes guys like you and myself to stand up and be like, all right, enough is enough. I'm not going to have that in my family no more.
Yeah.
you
And
know
when I got in this trade,
hmm
I mean, it's a good trade. And
yeah
I was very like proud of being in this trade. And he never like told me he was proud of me for like all the success that I've got in this trade. I never heard it from him.
hmm
But he would all I tell him I would always talk to my mom and be like, I said, why does he ever tell me like, fuck, good job, like, dude, you're doing good?
hmm
And she's like, trust me. She's like, he tells all his clients about you, about what you do. I said, well, why doesn't he tell me? Like, that's something I want to hear.
yep
But he was proud of me, but he never told me. So I don't understand. It was just his pride, I guess, being one of those machismo guys.
yeah
But I get it. I get it now. I see it. And I knew he was proud of what I was doing because I got four beautiful kids and he
hmm
loves my kids. So he knew that I was doing the right thing.
I asked my mom the same thing. I was like, why doesn't he ever tell me he's
Yeah.
proud of me? And
Yeah.
she told me the exact same thing, bro, almost verbatim as your mom told you. He is proud of you. He tells everybody about you.
Yeah.
And it's like, it leaves you wondering, so why can't he tell me? Why is it such a hard? I finally heard it for the first time probably about a month ago. Okay, I'm 44 years old, never heard him say that. And my brother passed away. It's going to be 2 years ago here, October 26th. Okay, he was a journeyman lineman as well. He died when he was 38 years old, a day before his 39th birthday. He had a heart attack. And
Yeah.
because of him dying and stuff like that, my dad, has been going through a lot of transitions because a parent should never have to bury their own child ever.
No. No.
So I can't even imagine the grief that's going through him. But he finally called me one day because he was having a hard time. He couldn't understand, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to listen to your father because I never heard this man cry, but it's hard to listen to your father break down and cry. It is.
Yeah.
And I'm like kind of blown away that this man's opening up to me, and because he never really showed emotion, and he's crying, he's asking why and how unfair it was that God took his son and all this stuff. And I'm also thinking to myself, well, you still got one son and you still got grandkids too. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind
Yeah.
of taking offense and personalizing, but I'm allowing him to grieve. And I'm just listening and listening. And finally he came out with it, and he's like, I love you and I am proud of you. I am proud for what you have done. And I have never heard that, Alfredo. Never heard that until that moment. But what I was getting at is it took him losing a son to realize that he had another son and to be able to say, hey, I'm proud. I should have said this to you guys more often. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. And I wish I would have heard that from him, but
hmm
we I mean, we did have a falling out like a while ago, like back in the day, and him and my mom would get into fights and stuff like that, and then
hmm
this is kind of be like this is a real personal situation and stuff, So
Yeah.
I was in my room. I was in high school, and I heard some stuff going on in the room. They were arguing and stuff like that, and I heard like something getting physical. And I walked in and I slammed the door open, and my mom's like, don't get involved. And I walked up to him and I said, look, so you want to take your anger out, take it out on me. I said, don't you ever touch my mother. I said, take it out on me. I'm right here. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, you're gonna hit me? I said, I'm not gonna hit you. I said, I have too much respect for you. I said, but you want to take your anger out? I'm right here. Throw it out on me. And he's like, oh, I'm like, I'm right here. Go ahead. And after that, like we we wouldn't talk as much, you know. But after that, but he I stood up to him, and I don't think he liked it.
Yeah.
You know, he's like I said, he has that machismo stuff. So he took it. I think he took it as an offense. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but he still loved. He still, you know, was there for me. But our relationship changed after that. After I stood up to him, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't regret it, you know, because I was protecting my mom. But after that, he changed. He
Yeah.
did change. He did change, and I saw that. I saw that he changed,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, that's why I don't have no regrets, because I knew that whatever I did, I made him change for some reason, and he was never gonna tell me thank you for doing that or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
he was a good man, and you know, he was the man of the house, and he held his family together.
Yeah. He did the
He
best he
held,
knew how to do.
yeah, yeah. I don't think he knew how to. I don't think he knew how to respond to that when I did
Mhm.
that.
It's definitely it's unfortunate that that had to happen, but there was change with it. Um I remember my dad stopped hitting me one time because I did the same thing. He was beating the hell out of me, bro, and I remember clear as day in the kitchen, and he has me up against the wall, and he's hitting me, and I finally stood up to him. And he stopped and he had a smirk on his face. He's like, "Oh, you wanna be treated like a man?" And he went at me like a man.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And
exactly.
I jumped right through the screen, bro. We had a screen door and the screen was up. So, it was just a screen. So I flew through that sucker and he came chasing me, dude. And he tore my shirt off when I jumped over the fence and I ran out to the front. And my buddy was just driving down, he had one of them little Hondas that had the lowrider tires and stuff like that. And
Yeah, yeah.
the homie almost ran me over, dude. And he's like, "What's going on, Dave?" And I jumped into his window. I was like, "Go, go, go!" And he saw my dad chasing me out the front door, dude. And he just drove, And I remember going to his house, and it's kind of funny because my dad grew up with his dad, right?
Yeah.
And I went to his dad's house and they're having a party, like a quinceañera or something, right? And I'm over there with my nose all dried blood and hair all messed up and shirt torn. And I'm kind of embarrassed because, I look like I just got thrashed, and
Hmm.
his family's there and everything. And I remember sitting on the side of the wall outside of the house and, they would bring me food and be like, here's some cake and stuff like that. I sat there for a while, until I guess my parents called their dad and told me, "Hey, you need to get home," but it was, stuff like that. I mean, my dad was different from that point on with me as well as what I was trying to get at, once I
Yeah.
stood up to him, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think that like when I did that, I don't know if he like I thought he hated me for that. You know, I thought
Mhm.
he was like, you know, like because like I said, he wouldn't talk to me as much. He would walk by me and not even say hello. But as my kids were there, he would always, you know, give them a hug, and my kids would run to him and like give him hugs, and you know, grandpa's home, and stuff like that. But like he would just walk right by me. Like sometimes
Mhm.
we wouldn't even talk. And but I mean, when I saw the love that he was giving to my kids, I was okay with it. I was fine. I was like, I'm good.
Mhm.
I don't need you to give me like any acknowledgement that I was there. Pretty much,
Mhm.
because he pretty much showed me I wasn't even there.
Yeah. Now you said machismo, and I think we tie that in with respect, right? And
Yeah.
it took me having to learn this and going through like one of our counselors and stuff like that, because I felt like I was being disrespected. I felt like my daughter wasn't giving me respect. I felt like my mom, or not my mom, my wife wasn't giving me respect, right? And the lady
Yeah,
finally asked me, she's like, well, define to me what respect is. I didn't know how to. I didn't even know what respect was, dude. And I think a
yeah,
lot of times, man, we want respect because that's our deepest need. There's a book out there called Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs, and he talks about the deepest need for a woman is love. They need to feel loved, cherished, right?
yeah,
Our
yeah,
daughters and our wives. Now, for men, we need to feel respected, that we're needed, right? And
yeah,
I think that we get confused with what respect is, because if we truly don't know what respect is, we're going to always think we're being disrespected. And I think
yeah.
for a lot of men, we confuse the respect with machismo, right? Oh, you have to respect me. And it's like, well, why do I got to respect you? Are you being someone I want to respect, who deserves respect? It
No,
really, it really, it really changed my perspective, because it's like, man, am I really actually being the person that deserves respect? Do I cherish my wife? Do I love my children? Would I lay down my life for my family and stuff like that? You know what I mean? And am I showing them love, not just telling
yeah,
them love or doing love for them, you know what I mean, but showing them love, and it just really changed my respect. But hopefully, to bring understanding to that, brother, I know that brought understanding for me and healing for me, is to understand that my father wanted respect, but he didn't even know what respect was, and I didn't even know what respect was, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
No, yeah. No, hands down though, you know what? He was a great man.
Yeah.
Great fucking great man. Great man. He showed me a lot
Yeah.
to the person that I am now. And he also showed me what kind of man not to be.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But I did get that he did teach me how to be a father, how to be a husband. And well, not actually how to be a husband, like how to just to
Hmm.
be the household man. Showed me that. He did show me that. And morals of, you're the man of the house, you take care of your family.
Hmm.
And that's your job. You take care, no matter what, you take care of your family. And I learned that. And that was always set in my head. I'm the man of the house. I'm going to take care of my
Hmm.
responsibilities at the home
Hmm.
and work as well, and do a good job at work.
Hmm.
So I did learn that from him because, like I said, he had me working since I was 13 years old. Like all my friends would be in the summertime riding their bikes, playing games and stuff. We used to always play after school. We would play on the street. Like back in the day, like it was. That's not like it is now. These kids are all about the phones and stuff and playing video games. We didn't have video games like that back in the day.
No.
We after school, like we'll have like eight friends. Well, we would be playing football on the street,
Hmm.
jumping on top of hoods of fucking people's cars, catching the football, and then the people were cool with it. Like the kids are having fun. They're out there in the street having fun, and then we would play baseball on the street. So it was just like it was different,
Hmm.
and it was fun. But yeah, like I said, he showed me but I when every summer I had to go to work,
Hmm.
and that's where my mentality was always at. Like as soon as I had my first daughter, I knew. I
Hmm.
said, okay, this is it. I gotta financially take care of my family and stuff. So I have to be hard with work
Hmm.
and just dedicate myself to work so I can have my family have a good life.
Hmm.
And that's how it started.
I know a lot of times we buy into this type of work, right, as men, that we get paid a lot of money in this trade. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think people really understand the give and take to it. They're not giving that money away. There's going to be a level of sacrifice somewhere. And
Oh yeah.
a lot of times in this trade, we get lost in, I want to provide a better life for my family, right? but it takes a
Yes.
toll because now you're pulled away from your family. So what is some of the stuff that you do now that you're doing in your family with your kids, brother, so you can be more present with them?
So you're right. You're completely right. Like when I was coming up
Mhm.
this trade, I missed a lot of birthdays. I missed a lot of Christmases. I missed a lot of Thanksgivings.
Mhm.
I missed a lot of their games and stuff that they played sports because I was working,
Yeah.
you know, and now it's like I make time for all my kids now. Like it's like I gotta
Mhm.
I gotta be there for them now. So it's like it's hard. 'Cause, we yeah, you make a lot of money to sacrifice for what they want, but I realized like me doing that was it my greed to make more money
Mhm.
on those holidays and stuff like that. It's not worth it anymore. It's not worth it. So now it's like I make sure I'm there for my kids for whatever things that they need. Like birthdays, school stuff. I make sure that I'm there. I want them to see me there. I want them to look around and say, "Oh, my dad's here."
Mhm.
So it's
How did you become self-aware of that though? Like like what
well,
happened to where you're like, "Man, I'm going the wrong path. Man, I need to start being present." Like what caused you to do that? Cuz I know for a lot of people, like for me, I had to hit rock bottom, brother, for me to start doing
okay.
the changes, you know.
So so yeah, like how I'm sure you and everybody in this trade knows how it goes.
Yep.
You work, you go to the bar after work, and and you miss a lot of time, like a lot of
Yep.
time going home. You do that, and I became sober. I became sober for 3 years,
Mhm.
and that's when I realized like what I missed and what my priorities were. I mean,
Mm.
obviously, my family was always my priority. I made sure that they always had a roof over their head and there, but I was not there physically because after work,
Mhm.
the guys wanted to go to the bar, go hang out and stuff like that. You don't get home till late at night.
Mhm.
And then you go back to work again and you're gone again for another 15 hours and then you do the same thing back and forth every day.
Yeah.
And when I became sober, it opened my eyes on what
Mhm.
how much stuff I've missed. And
Mm.
my and and I also realized who my friends were and who were not my friends. That I did
Mm.
realize that a lot. Like I realized like all the people that used to hang out with me were not there when I became sober.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, the only reason you guys were my friends because we're at the bar and I'm paying the tab and stuff like that, or whatever.
Mhm.
So my daughters and my kids became my best friends. Actually, my two daughters became my best friends after that. I would
Mhm.
talk to them about everything. We would do everything together. I would come home to work from work and they were always there. And I have custody of all my kids for the last 3 years.
Mhm.
So every time I got home, we would just do stuff. We would go hiking, we'd go for walks, we would talk. I would tell them everything, anything that was in my mind, I would tell them. They would give me their feedback. I was there
Mhm.
for any kind of stuff that was going at school for them. I was just there. I was there 100% all the time, and I made sure that I was there. I didn't
Mhm.
care about work or going out with whatever. As soon as, even if I had to take the day off, I didn't care. I'm like, I gotta go be there for my kids. So stuff that I never did before. Like before,
Yeah.
I didn't. I just wanted to work and go hang out with guys that I thought were my friends, but they really weren't.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
that's where I'm at now.
Mhm. So it seems like you reached a level of maturity. You have to go through that stage where you're trying to find yourself. and then realizing, like, I'm sure your dad told you, show me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. And going through that stage, you're like, okay, are these people really here for me? And then going through your sobriety, getting clear-minded, and then realizing what was truly important, and that's where you're at now. And that's a beautiful thing, Alfredo. It really is, man. It's definitely the finding yourself, and what is important.
No, it definitely when I did that, it
Hmm.
it it made me a different person, like a
Yeah.
completely different person. And it was like I focused a lot on myself, like my
Hmm.
physically like self, my mental self, and then that just opened up everything for my kids. Like
Mm.
my son, my youngest son is deaf,
Hmm.
which is hard, and I've been a single father for the last 3 years, and
Hmm.
I'm taking care of all of my kids, and I do my best to get them. Like it's been hard. It's been
Hmm.
hard to do this trade, to work and deal with the kids to get them to school. I mean, I had to have. Luckily, I'm blessed that I had my mother to help me for a long time. She helped me with the kids to get them to school.
Hmm.
Now I have my oldest daughter. She's kind of taking over and she's helping me with getting the younger kids to school and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
which I'm blessed to have that.
Yeah.
And and it's just it's hard. It's hard. I get how I can see how hard it is for the mothers that stay at home, and I got a lot of respect for these women because I do it at work. My phone doesn't stop in the morning. Like I'm gonna make sure in the morning that they get to school, or if not, there's been times where if I'm working locally, like by where they're at, I'll go over there and pick them up and take them to school and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So it's like I get how these women sometimes get. I give them a lot of respect for being single mothers and stuff like that to take care of the household because I gotta do it. I gotta work and come home and still take care of the house, stuff like that. Like I'm cooking dinner for my kids almost every night.
Hmm.
Sometimes if I'm too tired, I'll thank God for DoorDash and Uber Eats and stuff like that.
All right.
Because sometimes I'm too tired and I'm like, I'll just Uber eat some food to you guys, and I'm laying in bed.
Mm.
But it's good, man. I mean, like it made me realize a lot, and it cleared my mind big time.
Hmm. Hmm. No, definitely. I can't even imagine being in your shoes, brother. I got to stay home for 2020 when I retired from line work. And I became, Mr. Dad, right? And the kids were on
Yeah,
lockdown, so they couldn't even go to school. So I had the kids at home, they're doing Zoom. I'm trying to train them and everything. I'm trying to start, this podcast deal going on and dealing with all their different problems. And I finally realized firsthand how much a stay-at-home mom has to do. I mean, my God, dude, their job never stops, bro.
never, never.
Never. And and
I mean,
just
I'm coming home from work after working a 12-hour day,
mhm.
and I'm doing laundry. I'm doing laundry for the kids and cooking at the same time, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's like I
There's
should be
never
able
a
to come.
break.
No, and I'm like, I should be able to come home and like relax. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, I did have a few people that came in my life that helped me,
Mhm.
and I was grateful for that because it helped me. It gave me a relief,
Mhm.
but still, it's hard. It's still hard because I mean, I got kids that I gotta. If they need something at school, I gotta make sure. I have to make sure that I have to go to school, sign up, or whatever. I have paperwork that I gotta sign, or doctor's appointments that I gotta take them to. And I
Mhm.
mean, obviously, I gotta take time off of work to go do that.
Yeah.
So, before I didn't. I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm working.
Mhm.
But now I'm a dad. I have to take care of that. I have to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't bother me to take the day off to go take my kids to the doctor and do what they need for school or whatever. So like it's just a responsibility that I got now.
Mm-hmm. And it's good to see that, becoming a dad, how it changed your perspective in life, and that you took the values that you learned from your dad, which is the hard work and dedication to the family, and you're able to show your children, your daughters, and your sons what it is to be a dad. And, with that being said, Alfred, what kind of advice do you have for the new family dad, the young family dad who's coming up? Because right now in the trade, there's a lot of new apprentices that are coming in, dude, and they got young families, brother. What kind of advice can you give to them?
The best advice I can give these younger guys is just be a dad, be there for your kids. Because trust me, your kids are gonna appreciate it when they get older. They're gonna know that you're there. Hey, it doesn't matter if you take a day off.
Mm-hmm.
A day off from work is a day off from work. But you know what? The gratification you're gonna get from just showing up. Not only that, like just show up to watch them go play a soccer game
Mm-hmm.
or or a school project or something that you got to help them with. It's just your kids are going to appreciate it in the long run,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what, and then you're going to have the gratification for doing that. Like it's just be a good parent. It's There's so many things that I could say. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
but for the new dads, just be there for your kids. Just
Mm-hmm.
just just be under just be there, just be involved with them. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Just be involved with them. I get it. I know it's hard with this work.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can't, especially if you're an apprentice. I mean, an apprentice, you kind of don't have a choice. You have to work.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a lineman, you have choices and stuff, and just be the best parent that you can be. Just
Mm-hmm.
be a dad, and trust me, your kids are gonna appreciate it in the long run. They're gonna remember that my dad was there.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. There is gonna be times where there's emergency work where you can't not be there, which
Yeah.
it comes with our trade. You don't have that at that point. It's and my kids understand that because my kids do understand that.
Yeah.
Because I've been in the trade for like 22 years, 20 almost,
Mm-hmm.
so they know that okay, dad has to go to work,
Yeah.
and they get it. But as long as you come home and you just show them love, that and then
Mm-hmm.
how can I say this, like, obviously you're gonna work crazy hours, but as soon as and you when you get home, they just make it up to them. They're gonna appreciate it if they understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I always told like my kids, like I missed Thanksgivings with him before,
Mm-hmm.
and then I came home, a couple days later after working, a storm or something, and then I made him a Thanksgiving dinner. I said, well, we're gonna redo it. I know it's not Thanksgiving, but we're gonna redo it, and they
Eh,
appreciate that. They like that
yes.
because you know what, they understand that you were not there, but you're still trying to like make it happen. So
Mm-hmm.
just stuff like that, just little stuff, just
Yeah.
just just appreciate the kids and make it work. And if you miss something, just make it up to them. Trust me, it makes a big
Mm-hmm.
difference.
I like that you said appreciate your kids. That's awesome. Yep, absolutely, brother. I think that's what we sometimes fail to do as fathers is we, just like in work, when you're doing it for so long, you get complacent, right? And we hear it all the time in the trade, right? We get complacent.
Absolutely,
And I think
absolutely.
with our children, we get complacent with them too. With our families, we get complacent. And sometimes we need to reassess and realize what's important and start appreciating, right? Coming out of that
Yeah.
gratitude. And
Yes.
that's awesome, brother. Now, so Alfredo, I wanted to ask you, brother, because our time is coming short. You know, there's a question that always gets brought up to me. You know, what is one thing you'd like to change in the trade when it comes to our families? You know, we know this trade can be hard on our family. It has the ability to magnify problems that we didn't even know existed. So, what's something that you would like to see change in a positive way in this industry for the family?
For the family.
Hmm. For the worker and for their families and stuff like that. What would you like to see change? Like support for the families as far as like single dads and stuff like that, or you know what I mean?
Well, the company that I work for now,
Mm-hmm.
they all everybody knows they're like the GFs. I mean, I was a GF there for a little bit, and I became a foreman back again. But
Mm-hmm.
the superintendent as well, they all knew. They all knew that I was a single dad, and
Mm-hmm.
I had things to do. So they always they never they gave me the opportunity to do what I had to go do. Like if
Okay.
they knew that I had to take time off
Mm-hmm.
to go take care of stuff, they didn't have a problem with it at all. They backed me up 100%,
Mm-hmm.
which I love that.
Yeah.
And I just think it's just communication.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you communicate with the supervisors or whatever and let them know what's going on, they'll work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they'll help you out. Like, you know, if you need time off, they'll give you, you know, they'll do it. In
Mm-hmm.
which these guys did. They knew. They told me 100% all the time. Like, I don't understand. Like, I can't even imagine what you're going through. Because I
Mm-hmm.
was, you know, they're like, I can't imagine you with 4 kids, single dad. You have to take care of all this stuff. So they helped me out. Like, yeah, they backed me up, and I give them a lot of respect and a lot of love for them for doing that,
Mm-hmm.
because they you know they had my back of it.
Mm-hmm.
But and they always told me it's just communication. Just communicate with us. Let us know what's going on. We're gonna help you. We'll do whatever it takes to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more like, as long as you communicate with people and let them know what's going on, like
Mm-hmm.
these companies are changing completely from back in the day how it used to be. Because back in the day, they didn't care.
Yeah, they didn't give no
No,
care at all.
no care. It's like you don't have. You're gonna work, and that's it. You know. But
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, these companies have changed, and you know the managers and stuff. You let them know. As long as you let them know what's going on in your life,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna back you up and help you out.
Mm.
So I mean, that's pretty much it on that part of it.
Yeah. And it's good to see that they have changed because man, I like you, I came from a place where, all right, you can't work, we'll get someone else. It didn't matter how many attaboys you had, you know. If you couldn't come, you couldn't work, well, they didn't need you. You know what I mean? If you have
Yeah,
family time or whatever, they just get someone else, and that's the way a lot of companies viewed their employees, and it's good to see that you actually have an employer right now who actually through communication is able to help you and work with you, and that's good. And I think more companies need to turn like that, and I think they are. I think there's a greater awareness. I see it all the time where everybody was on a big push for IQ, which is your ability to learn something new. Everybody was pushing IQ, IQ, IQ. Well, now the big push is for EQ, which is emotional intelligence. And I think that's where we're at now today, where people are getting more in touch with their emotional side and being able to relate to people. For the biggest portion of this past century, people were non-relatable. Okay.
yeah,
They looked at you as a commodity, right? And I think we took that on, a lot of fathers took that on too, is looking at us at our families as a commodity. You know, Will Monzingo, a past guest, said the same thing, that he started to look at his children and his family as a possession, as a commodity, right? And that's
yeah,
unrelational. So when we get that emotional intelligence, we're actually able to empathize with them and see them as people the way it was intended, and we can start communicating at that level, which is really awesome. So that's cool, bro. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that the company you work for is doing that. That's a big thing, man. That's huge. And if I
no,
can, yeah, go ahead.
it is, and I respect like all the managers and stuff and the people that I work for. because they know, I mean, I came up with a lot of them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like they say, they always used to tell me, I don't, they're like, I can't imagine what you're going through and do what you're doing by yourself. But like, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And, because they all have wives and stuff like that. And I don't, I'm just by myself. So they're like,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell them like, hey, I got to do this. I got to take this day off to go take care of this. And they help, they work with me. So, and I appreciate them as well for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, before it was never like that. It was like, you know what? You got too much stuff going on. We don't need you. Bye.
Yeah. Solve your problems. We'll find someone else.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very harsh and hardcore, but I get it. That they're doing what they're showed too, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a business. They got to take care of their business as well. But, it's a different world now than it was back in the day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. But Alfred, how could someone reach out to you if they want to talk to you and ask you some questions? I know this is going to be able to help a lot of people in a positive way. I thank you for sharing all this great stuff and being so open and true with our listeners. How can they reach out to you, brother, if you don't mind?
They can reach me out through my Instagram. You can tag me on my Instagram. They can call me through that.
Okay.
Or they can even, I'll give you my personal number. It's 626-862-2634. They can text me. I can talk to them. I mean, because I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out there that are going through the same thing that I am, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe not, but still, like, they can reach out to me because it's hard. But yeah, I can help them out with whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to them and tell them my story that I've been through, and maybe I can help them out too in their situations.
Absolutely, brother. Well, once again, thank you, Alfie, for coming on here, bro, and sharing with our show. I know our listeners are going to be super, super stoked to hear your story, man. And it takes a lot of guts, bro, to come on here and share what you did. And I appreciate it. I really do, brother. And keep being that dad that shows up for your family, brother. You got a beautiful family, bro. Thank
Well,
you.
I thank you, man. Appreciate it. I'm going to the pumpkin patch right now, and as soon as I'm done with this, I'm gonna get all the kids. We're gonna go to the pumpkin patch and then barbecue, and then start carving pumpkins for Halloween.
Yeah, I'm gonna go carve mine now.
Yeah, we went to Costco and just bought like 7 of them, so we got a lot of carving to do.
Dude, sawzalls work great for them suckers. Let me tell you.
Right? I got 3 of them at the house, so we'll figure something out.
Heck yeah. Well, right on, Alfredo. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. God bless.
Man, thank you. Exactly. Appreciate you. Thank you.